Say hi. Okay. Hi, Bonnie Violet, trans femme, genderqueer, spiritual drag artist, digital chaplain.
I'm Pacey, trans masc, non-binary, mental health and recovery advocate.
And welcome to Transjoy Boise, where every story, laugh, and act of joy is a stand for our community.
We uplift bold voices, share real experiences, and celebrate trans lives thriving.
Tune in, connect, and spread the joy because trans joy is
unstoppable.
Unstoppable.
Yes.
Period.
We did it.
That was, yeah.
You did it.
I'm gonna just memorize it.
Are you?
I can't. It's 12 words.
There's no reason why we haven't yet, but it's kind of just become part of our thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we always fuck it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We always comment about it, and then we start the show.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. Go ahead.
Well, where are we going to start? Well, we have a guest.
Yeah, you should introduce our guest.
There's somebody in the room.
Hey.
Somebody beyond us. So we're really excited today. We're going to have a guest. We talked about it on our last podcast. That we're going to bring on Buck Delicious.
Hey, that's me.
Yes, they are a local drag performer and entertainer. When I first moved to Boise a couple years ago, was flirting with the idea. You were one of my favorite artists.
Oh,
really?
When I came back, I was like, "Oh, that's cool. We got drag and performance artists like that in Boise now." I was like, "I can come back here."
Oh, well, I'm so flattered to hear. Thank you so much.
So it's really great to have you here today, amongst so many other things, and getting to know you over the last couple of years.
Yeah, it's been. honestly, I'm so excited to be here. First of all, love the pod. I listen to it at work all the time. And this community is really interesting. I think in the way that we have so much diversity in our community.
Mm-hmm.
We have, drag kings, we have queens, we have things, we have drag-lesque artists, we have trans femme artists, we have trans masc artists, we have gender fluid artists like me. And so
I was like, and you're a little bit of all of those.
I am a little bit.
Depending on the day.
I think I was talking to one of my partners, Cora, about, I feel like we're kind of like Swiss Army knives, I feel like, as drag artists, because we fit all of these different roles. Like, I do drag-lesque, but I also am really big into costuming. I love makeup. I love hair. I love dancing. I love, femme drag. I love masculine drag. And so I get to do all of these different pieces of it. It's really fun.
Yeah. Well, and I think you have a level of, I think sometimes when we try to do everything, we can kind of, at least for me, I feel like sometimes I take on too much.
Real.
And then I'm never really great at anything. But I think that you've been able to find a way to direct your talent in a lot of these different lanes that I think you stand out in every one of those spaces. I think because of that, it's really impressive.
Thank you. I appreciate
Not to
it.
stroke your ego in front of everyone.
Listen, I'm a Leo. I love my ego being stroked. I'm like, oh, thanks. Oh, stop. But keep going.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that I don't like specializing. Do you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I don't like feeling like I have to do one thing. My art, me as a person, my drag, it's all very fluid.
Right.
I kind of just do what I want.
Mm-hmm.
And, I think that that's, for me, the way that I feel most comfortable is when I can just exist. And sometimes, being gender fluid, sometimes that means I look like a really, really pretty lady.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes I look like a really masculine man, but most of the time I look like this, which is a nice little in between, right?
Yeah. It's
so
what
fun.
Queer person likes a box?
Literally,
Yeah.
Boxes are lame.
Totally. You mentioned your non-binariness kind of in your performance and how you're expressing yourself now. Do you want to talk a little bit about how that relates to, or how it might be different from your day-to-day when you're not in
all of this? Yeah. So I'm gender queer both in and out of drag. So Buck Delicious is definitely, I think about gender as a spectrum, right? I think most people do. Buck Delicious on that spectrum is definitely masc of center, right? So he's a little bit more masculine in that, but still has feminine energy. But me as a person outside of drag, I'm kind of all over the place in how I choose to present, mostly because my gender changes sometimes like by the minute or the hour. Sometimes I feel so deeply in my soul that I'm a man, and sometimes I'm like, yeah, I'm going to present masculine today. And then sometimes like halfway through the day, I'm like, actually, I'm a girl. I want to be pretty. And then I'm like, these slacks, hate them. I want to be in a dress. So it's really interesting. Like, it's fluid. For me, I'll do periods of time sometimes where I'm a lot more feminine in my day-to-day life. But then usually those periods of time when I'm more feminine in my day-to-day outside of drag, I end up being a lot more masculine in drag. And then vice versa. When I'm more masculine in my day-to-day, I always end up being a lot more feminine in my drag. So out of drag right now, I'm very much in my femme era. I got my first clip-in ponytail. Nice. Which I'm like insufferable about. Colby, yes, like it's not like a Sasha Colby ponytail because those are really nice and expensive, but it's just like a cheapo clip-in.
Hey, that's
one. That's drag. But like I got my first one and I'm insufferable about it. Like I'm out of drag and I'm just like, oh, I'm so pretty. I got my hair. It's just like flowing everywhere. But then like I'm in drag and I'm like, I'm a man with elf ears and shit. Can I swear on the pod?
You totally can. Cool. We do. We say tranny, we say fuck, we say whatever you want. You can say tranny anywhere else, but here.
You're like, but we can't say it here.
Yes.
But I think, I just love like playing. I think that for me, gender is all about play.
Like it's not that serious.
It's not that serious. Everybody's always like,
right?
Like everybody's really pressed. I mean, not everybody, but a lot of people are really pressed about like, oh, gender has to be this way. Gender has to be that way. And I respect like that people have different upbringings and things like that. I can respect that. And two things can be true at the same time, which is that like you may think this way. That doesn't mean it's reality though. Right. And to me, like gender is something in reality that is very fluid and all about play and expression. I think that so often we think like, oh, masculinity means I can't wear sparkles. I can't be soft. I can't be this. I have to wear pants. I can't wear heels. I have to do this. I have to do that. But if you look at examples of soft masculinity throughout history, there's actually quite a few, not just in fashion, but just in music artists and dancers and other artists throughout history. And even if you think about it in drag king art, there is a lot of drag king history, mask drag history that centers around like masculine hard elements, but also incorporating these like elements that are typically more feminine, like these sparkles, like this softness, like this flare, like this feather. And then you see, modern kings like, Alexander the Great is a great example of that. Another is Hugo Girl. If y'all are familiar with Hugo Girl, amazing drag king. And I think it's cool that like gender can be this play piece of like, let's see if this fits in what I like and what I want and see if I enjoy it. And if it expresses me the way that I want it to.
Yeah. Before I transitioned, I would refer to that as like gender fuckery.
Yes, I call it that too.
I think part of that was just being in Chicago and then being in San Francisco at the time because I was like a bearded lady. I lady. I had a big old beard. I had hair coming out of my chest, like my, and that was just every day, right? And so like I was. And then I'd wear a skirt or something like that. And at that time, it was very like gender fuckery. It was very kind of rebellious. And it felt like it was so different than everyone else around me. But as I started to transition, it started to change a little bit around that. And I kind of into that question. I don't know where I was going with that. But I was curious as to what came first for you, the embracing or the I guess the transitioning, if you will, or your non-binariness, gender fluidity. Did that come before or after your drag?
Actually, after. Yeah. It's really interesting, I think, like when you kind of remove the rules and you kind of just let yourself do whatever feels right and natural to you, it's interesting how quickly you realize that you were only doing certain things because like the rules said. So when I started doing drag, I originally was very, very masculine. I didn't do feminine elements at all. Strict masculine. And because at the time, that's kind of what I felt like I needed. Exactly. But as I started continuing exploring drag and playing and performing, I started to kind of question my own personal gender outside of it. I think just because it felt so freeing to present this way.
Right.
You know, it felt so validating. I remember, like, it's emotional a little bit, actually. Like, I remember putting my chest plate on for the first time and, like, looking down and seeing, like, a chest,
right.
you know, and not this.
Mm-hmm.
And I just remember, like, I will never forget that feeling of, like, just that joy, that euphoria of, like, oh my God, like, this,
right.
you know? And anyway, it's been such a magical way to explore what I like and what I enjoy and the things that make me feel like me. And because I'm so fluid, like, I get to shapeshift.
Yeah.
And I get to, like, you know, on the days that I want to present masculine, I've learned how to be able to do that in a way that I feel like expresses me.
Right.
So drag has been very central to that in my journey there.
So drag is definitely the gateway drug.
I would say
transitioning.
I mean,
for some
honestly,
of us.
For some of us, I mean, for me, definitely. I also think, like, for me, like, when I got into drag, at the time I had been living as, like, a straight person for a really long time. I know.
Really?
Like, this is an origin story. Actually, lore drop, a little bit of lore drop here. So you both know this already, but I was a news reporter for quite a long time. I lived my life very much in kind of the way that I felt like I was supposed to, you know, as a feminine, as an AFAB person who, you know, like, I got married to a guy, I, like, got the job, I, like, went to college, I did the thing, like, we were talking about kids, you know, next step, like, I did the thing that you're supposed to do, that, like, we're taught from, like, day one, you know, this high, that, like, is your job, is your duty, is, like, how you live a good life. And I got all of it. I got the guy, I got, like, this career, and I got, like, I had it all. And I was not happy. And I couldn't understand, like, what was wrong, but I would sit there and I would just, like, ache, and I didn't get why. And then I realized that I was queer. And I was like, oh, it's because this life isn't meant for me. And I had to tear my entire life apart to do drag, to be queer, to live authentically as a trans person. Like, I had to tear my entire life that I built apart. And honestly, I'd do it again. I would do it again to live as myself. And obviously, like, lots of pain, lots of sadness, lots of struggle, but, like, worth it for, like, getting to live the way that you want to authentically. Anyways, the lore drop and all of that is just that I started doing drag kind of as this, like, outlet to explore. And I was, you know, I was out, you know, I was a newly out queer person who had just, you know, I was a baby gay, and I was out and I was doing drag, and I was being a feral little crazy guy, and it was a good time. And, you know, being around so many queer people for the first time, like, you start learning, like, vocabulary for things that, like, you've been feeling but don't have words for. And I think that was the piece, maybe more so even than drag. That was the piece, was just, like, being around people who had vocabulary and experience to, like, describe how I was feeling.
Right. Exactly. Words to your experience.
Yeah. I feel like that's the answer, right? Because how many times have we talked about, you know, people that they're not necessarily against us, they just don't understand us.
Period.
And I think that it's because they don't have trans people in their lives, you know, and I feel like if they got to know us, it might change their opinion a little bit. But how do you do that? And then even people like us, you know, we live our lives kind of isolated from other people like us. And we don't know, like, we know that we feel different and we feel like we don't fit in, but we don't know where we're supposed to be. And then once we get into this place where we're surrounded by other people like us, like, oh, this is how I describe it. There are other people that feel like me. And I think that if everyone could have more experience or exposure to different people, not even just, like, queer or trans people, but anyone who's not like you, I think that we would be doing so much better. There wouldn't be as much hatred because they hate what they don't understand.
And we were raised and brought up into that. So like we were like, our imagination was cut and was removed from us for so long culturally. And so I think I was creative as fuck, but I still lacked the imagination to express myself differently in my gender, or like to really go there. And I really felt like it took me, for me, I had to leave Idaho and I had to go to other places and see more of myself and other people so that I could begin to kind of like find myself somewhere in the between. Like I'm not that, but I might be almost or kind of sort of or that, but you know, with this or that. And it took me seeing it in others before I could begin to see it in myself, I guess, or even manifest it or begin to form it.
To see that it's even an option.
Yeah,
it did not feel like an option.
Yeah, because like you don't know what you don't know.
Exactly.
And then realizing like that you could even, and it's stupid to look back on now and be like, how could I not know that was an option? Especially like because we're a little bit older, so it was.
Excuse you.
No, we're a little bit older.
We are.
So like it was. Oh,
it's okay. It's just coffee. You called me old. On camera.
Chaos. It's chaos if you're not watching.
It's true though.
So it was a little bit different, but I feel like everyone goes through that, especially if you're brought up in like a religious household, conservative household. You don't realize that it's even an option. So then you grow up and you're around people that are like on gender forming hormones. You're like, you can fucking do that?
Yeah,
exactly. You can make those changes, and it's like it's mind blowing, but it's so comforting.
I think there's also a level of, I don't know about you, but I don't like, there was a lot, I had to be willing to take a leap, because I don't know about you all, but I didn't exactly know how I wanted to be or how I wanted to present or like who this ideal Bonnie Violet would be. So I had to kind of like just take a jump. You know, for me, it's been a very spiritual, very intuitive experience. I've always referred to me living into my transness or transitioning as a spiritual awakening, as really being willing to just kind of like begin to form myself differently and see what it feels like. I remember when I first took hormones, I was like, I don't know that I want like tits and hips and, you know, like, cause I was an attractive guy and I was kind of like okay with that, but like, but I also knew it didn't feel right. But intuitively, I felt like I needed, the hormones to me were like a vitamin deficiency. It just felt like there was something I was missing in my body for the rest of me to wake up. And then once I started to do that, I was like, oh fuck, I might get tits I don't like. I might look this way, but something's telling me to do it. And I remember the first time I bumped my elbow on my nipple. It was like just a few weeks in, and I was like, oh fuck. I was like, what the, like what? And I was like, oh, I was like, I don't know that I've ever experienced glee like that. Like it was just like, yeah, I was beaming like so much.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting, like the little like moments of euphoria that you have as you transition.
Yeah.
Like I think I still get she, her a lot, which is fine. I use all pronouns.
Right.
But like for me, I occasionally will get a sir.
Yeah.
And whenever I get a sir, I just am like, so exciting, you know. And so little moments like that, big moments like, you know, my chest or yours.
Yes.
And, you know, it's just these little like moments, I think, that keep you true to you. And you learn that you can trust yourself, that you know what you want. You really do. Right. It's just that you talk yourself out of it.
Yeah.
And you have to give yourself the trust and the freedom to know that like, hey, it's okay that like I want this.
Right. And I think to allow yourself to seek pleasure in those ways, because I think we're taught so hard that like pleasure is bad, pleasure is evil, pleasure is sinful. And like I remember for me when my friends used to call me she before I transitioned, I would just always felt seen, and it was like a term of endearment, and it made me feel good. And I was like, I want everyone to call me she now, because like it just felt so good. And it's like, why not? And for a while I didn't, because I felt like my she wasn't somebody else's she. And I wasn't, and somehow my she took away from you're she, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or that I'm not that kind of a trans girl. I didn't even see myself as a trans person. I'm not a trans girl, so I can't do that, right? Or a cis girl. And so, but I was like, but it feels good. It feels good for me. So why not? And I think that's something that we're constantly told. Like, if it feels good and you enjoy it, then fucking do it. It's not, if it's not hurting anyone, do it. And even if they're like a little bent over it, whatever, they can talk to their supports and they can reflect on or do whatever they want. But like, if it feels good to us, I think that's valid enough.
Well, and also like the trans journey looks different for everybody. You know, I think that there's this
like
perception. Yeah. Well, there's this like perception and this idea, I feel, and I don't know if y'all have experienced this. I've experienced this where like I feel like people have like a specific idea of what being trans is. And I think there's kind of this expectation of like, well, you have to have surgery. You have to do hormones. You have to do this. You have to do that. It has to look this way.
Yeah.
These are the steps. Like, this is what you have to do. And just to reiterate out loud again, you don't have to do any of that if you don't want to. Like, you're trans just because.
Yeah.
Like, you can just be
enough.
trans, and that's fine. Like, you're trans enough without surgery. You're trans enough without hormones. You're trans enough as you are just because you are. And your journey to transition will look different for everybody.
Yeah.
And like, again, like mine, different day to day.
Yeah.
Like I bind sometimes, I tape sometimes I don't. Sometimes I pack, sometimes I don't. You know, it looks different for everybody, but I'm not any less trans than anybody else.
Right.
Just because like I haven't done surgery or like hormones or other things. Like I'm still a trans person. And you're trans because you feel that way.
Right.
Period.
My journey was a little bit different. I took testosterone for like a year and a half, like a decade ago. And then I stopped because I thought, like, first of all, I was like, this is so hard. You know, this is such a hard life to just be this other, you know? And I was thinking, like, what are my next steps here? Like surgeries, things like that. And at that time, I was still really battling a lot of different like mental illnesses and shit like that. And I was like, I'm not ready. I would rather just try to accept myself as I am. Right. So I wouldn't even call it like detransitioning. I just stopped hormones.
Yeah.
And then I was just kind of like, whatever. And then I went through ebbs and flows of like a lot like hyperfemininity and masculinity. And then I got that job at a queer bar. And believe it or not, I've done drag twice.
Really?
I don't know if anyone knows that. You know that.
I didn't know
Yeah,
that.
I've done it twice. I got on stage. I was in a number once. I'll show you pictures from it. It was fucking terrifying. I'm not built for it. Like, but I can speak to the feeling of just like, oh, this feels right. You know, like being able to, and not only like just being able to dress that way, right? Because like I dress like that a lot, but to be seen that way and to have people refer to you as that, I was like, wow, that's really great. You know, even if it was like 2 fucking days. But then throughout my stay at that fucking bar, it felt more and more comfortable. Not only like those, because those are just 2 experiences, but being surrounded not only by queer people, but by people that looked at gender as something easily like on a spectrum, something that can change from day to day, from minute to minute. I was like, that doesn't make it seem as impossible or as far-fetched for me to want to pursue this.
Right.
Because it always seemed like so out of so out of my reach, because there's so much that you have to do. And it's really not like that at all. It's like you said, it's just if you feel like that, then you are.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's what the gift of drag was for me, though. Like, it allowed me to kind of like wear and be in this presentation that felt really good, and kind of in a line, like people look at drag artists and they're like, you know, it's a very affirming, almost kind of look at me kind of thing, and in a more positive light, right? And so, but you take it off at the end of the day,
right?
And so I was extremely surprised that once I decided I was a trans girl, and that's how I wanted to live or how I was going to see myself, it became difficult to be a trans girl 24/7. Like, it was really fucking hard. Like, it took a lot of energy and stamina and endurance. I would get to where like, oh, I'm going to wear this skirt to work. I'm feeling cute, whatever.
Mhm.
I'll walk to work. I was living in San Francisco at the time. I get to work, and then by lunchtime, it's time to go get lunch, and I can't leave the room because I'm feeling too exposed, or like I can't deal with anyone. Like, it just takes a lot of energy, and by the end of the day, it's like, fuck that. How am I getting home?
Mhm.
You know what I mean? So it was surprising to me, and it takes a lot out of kind of like what I talked about when I went out with my mom and dad grocery shopping in Rome this weekend. And it was like, I wanted my dad to see what it's like to be a trans person existing at the fucking grocery store.
Just like getting your groceries.
Exactly. Yeah. You're dealing with the guys like oogling you, like, like a lot of men do to women.
Mhm.
And then you have just the looks or the stares or my partner sometimes too is like, if one more person,
like he would fucking kill him.
He does. And I'm just like, please don't. Please don't. Yeah.
It's kind of this like, you live on edge constantly
Yes.
of being perceived. And I think like to be a woman is to perform anyway, right?
Oh my
And,
God, I
like,
love that. Yeah.
I mean, it is, to be a woman is to perform anyway. But then when you
is
add
that like faking orgasms, is that what you meant?
No, I just mean in general. Well, I think because like, I think about, at least for me, like when I present feminine, I'm treated very differently than when I'm masculine.
Mm-hmm.
When I say to be a woman is to perform, I mean that there is a lot of unspoken labor that women carry, or people who live as women carry, non-binary people as well who might be more feminine, anybody who's perceived that way. And it's this kind of like expectation put on them by society, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like when you live as a woman, you're taking on this like generational weight of like always being treated secondary, always being looked at like you're less than, always being looked over.
A vulnerability.
And not only, but being looked at. Your hair must be done. Your eyebrows have to be plucked. Your eyelashes have to be long. Like your makeup better be good and your outfit better be put together. But if you do it too much, it's very like being and living as a woman. And you understand this very intimately is like and you understand like it's about like people will perceive you in a very different way. And so when I say a woman is to be a woman is to perform, like it's this feeling of like you are always on stage. You are always being looked at, and you're also always doing it wrong. It doesn't matter like how it is, you just are always to this. You should smile more. You should dress more feminine. You should dress a little bit more conservatively. You should dress this way. Don't be so aggressive. Don't be so bossy.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's always that. And I know that like one of the cool things about like when I do present masculine, like I kind of get to have this like masculine energy of like, no, you will take me seriously.
Right.
And that's been really cool for me, like because I was in this space for so long of only existing in the feminine. For a long time, I kind of would just like accept that as like, oh, that's just how it is, and I've learned through like taking that like masculine energy in myself, because I think everybody has both, right?
I think so.
I feel like everybody has both, but like taking that masculine energy within myself and like being like, no, actually, I don't deserve to be treated like that. Becoming more comfortable in like myself and my identity. So like I definitely understand this like perception piece and that like pressure and that like edge, even when I'm presenting feminine and not masculine. Like I don't look like a cis gender person, really. So
well, and I think that's kind of like the gift of transitioning is that like for me, like I'm transitioning from a male to a female, and I'm taking a little bit of my belief in entitlement or that I belong in a space, right? That or like I can take up space, I think. And so I think that helps me in some ways be a better feminine person in the world. And then I think like I often hear you talk about in transitioning to being more masculine is this idea that yes, I want to be masculine, yes, I want to do these things, but I'm not like I don't want to be an asshole. Like because you lived your life and was seeing your life in a certain way, you know what it's like to be on the other end. And so that's going to cause you to be different as a man or a woman or a non-binary person, because we've had that. Because it's something like, I was always told that women were scared in public and like to walk with others, all these sorts of things. But until I started being seen like that in the world, I had no concept, or even hearing them talk about bathrooms for trans people for decades. And I'm like, what's the big fucking deal about bathrooms? And bathrooms are pretty significant challenge in my life as a trans person.
You need to read The Gift of Fear. Every woman in my life, I will always say, you have to read The Gift of Fear. Every AFAB person, even. Feminine present, whatever, you need to read The Gift of Fear. Because I worry for all of us, really, but like because women are such targets, and even it's like it's such a societal thing that we're raised as. So like a lot of trans men have that voice, right? You know what I'm talking. Everyone knows, like they've got that distinct voice, and the reason why is because it's not because like their vocal cords are weird or anything. It's because AFAB people are raised to have like a very like a customer service voice. So like it's like very nasally, right? Your voice needs to be comforting and welcoming and very polite. So then when you go on hormones and your vocal cords thicken, you're not speaking from your chest like men do. You're still speaking up here. So it comes across like that. And it's just a little way that it's in everything that you do when you're raised as an AFAB person. Everything you do is tainted by some form of the expectation that you need to be like a nurturer. You need to be someone who helps other people. You're not the fucking hero. Like you're a supporting role in this.
I definitely can relate to that. And I think like you see, honestly, like elements of that even bleed into queer culture, into like, I think less so in the trans community, but I do see it in drag specifically. You look at, I mean, let's talk about misogyny in drag, shall we? Let's talk about it. I think that like, and it's multi-layered. Okay, this is going to be a tangent. Gear up, buckle up. Okay, first of all, for drag being an art form that is all about gender, like, and like breaking out of that, has a lot of fucking rules about gender, doesn't it? And how that gender is supposed to look. I think less so like locally, I think that we've really like our community has really evolved to see like in a lot Boise, of in Boise Idaho, specifically, which is crazy. Like it's in backwards. Boise, but we have like a lot of representation here in our community, which is really fucking cool. But like I travel a lot, and it's really interesting because like I will still hear discourse about like, oh, if you're a queen, you have to be padded. If you're a queen, you have to wear a breastplate. If you're a queen, you have to corset. If you're a king, like kings aren't as good as queens. Like
they're lazy.
They're lazy, or like their makeup isn't good, or their outfits aren't good, or they're like whatever. Like it's like there's misogyny like everywhere. And it's like there's so many layers. Like and on both sides for like feminine drag artists, masculine drag artists, and obviously people in the middle were. People are like, what are you doing? But I think it's multi-layered. And then when you factor in also like being a trans drag artist, I feel like a lot of the time when you're a trans like king, for example, like I'm a gender fluid king, right? Like there's kind of this like element of like I could be anything. Right. I could do feminine. I could do masculine. I usually do masculine, but I could be feminine. You never know what you're going to get. But I'm treated very differently depending on what I bring. When I do queen drag, I'm treated as a queen, but I'm still an AFAB queen. And it's that little distinction that like people always have to throw in. It's like, they're an AFAB queen. Like, no, I'm a drag queen.
Well, I have a question then. Okay. So, cause I hear this conversation a lot, or like this argument from every side of the argument, right?
Mhm.
So my question then is, how accepted would it be if a cis man wanted to be a drag king?
For
drag
me,
king.
we actually do have AMAB drag kings. And I don't know about like a cis, like, I don't know if there are drag kings that are AMAB. I don't know if they identify as cisgender.
Okay.
But Silver Rocks is one who is an AMAB drag king. He's amazing. He is, I forget where he's based out of. But he does like a lot of TikTok stuff mostly. But he is, that I've seen anyway. But he's a drag king, huge on the internet. I don't know if he identifies as cis though. But
I think that would be the caveat. Just
yeah,
so,
like a cisgender. I don't know specifically personally in my own experience. To me though, like anybody can do drag.
Exactly.
Of any kind of gender
It's such
expression.
a personal experience.
I think that it wouldn't go, like, kind of to speak to your point though, I don't think it would go well. I think that people would be like, that's different.
Yes.
You know, just like the same way where they're like, oh, an AFAB person doing queen drag, like,
yeah.
you
Well,
know?
I think sometimes people just feel like it's like, can't, like, it just feels like potentially like, as you know, like say a straight cis man just taking up space that wasn't
What if he's
created
gay?
for them.
Gay cis man.
Well,
Well,
you
and
know,
also, like, what does it matter? Like, what does it matter if you're trans or gay or straight or cis or whatever? Like, drag is an art form.
Exactly.
Like, I'm not going to be like, hey, you can't fucking paint because you're trans. Like, that's stupid.
Right.
Like, I'm not going to ever, like, gatekeep an art form from somebody. Cis, straight dude, and you want to do fucking king drag, do it.
Do it. Yeah.
If you're, like, because here's the thing. I think that, like, it's always this, like, thought of, like, oh, drag means you're cross-dressing.
Right.
Like drag means you are one way and you're
doing the other.
The other. And I think for historically, yeah, it has meant that. It has meant that. But I think that it's evolved into this bigger art form of like your drag is about like becoming this character.
Yeah.
It's about like creating this persona, whatever that gender is.
Yeah.
And I think that a lot of people like, you know, they'll look at cis women doing drag, for example. I'll use Pandora Knox as an example. Okay. Pandora Knox is the winner of RuPaul's Drag Race in Germany. She's amazing, by the way. Yes, but she's the first AFAB, or not the first AFAB, but the first cis woman to win Drag Race.
Okay.
And a lot of people will argue and say that she's not a real drag queen just because she's cisgender.
Right.
But because, or actually I should say, she's not a real drag queen because she's a woman. But then like people don't have that same argument for trans women who do drag.
Exactly.
And it's like, okay, like, so you don't see trans women as women.
That's exactly.
Like, just say that. And it's the same mindset, right? Like you see, like if there was a cis drag king, a cis AMAB drag king, right? Like they're not any less valid than like a trans man doing drag.
Exactly.
It's like if you don't see trans men as men, just say that.
Exactly.
If you don't see trans women as women, just say that.
Because
like
there's like, you're right. There's so much, not even just misogyny, just ignorance. I think within the drag community, regardless, and it's
because it's such a personal thing. It's a personal for the artist, but it's also personal for the person who is watching or engaging. And we're all coming at different levels. It's like there have been plenty of people who would think that a trans woman doing drag is not appropriate as a female, like as a drag queen. Like RuPaul was all about that. Like you're cheating. You know? Like, you know what I mean? So I think it's all about, and I think that's one of the beauty that some of the beauty of drag and the gift of drag is that it allows people from all walks of the expression to see different ways and find themselves. And so we're all coming at it from a different understanding. Like we talked about earlier, we lack the language to talk about things or the experience. Like we've never seen a trans woman doing female drag, or we've never, seen some of these sorts of things. We're like, no, that's not how it works. I was under the impression that a drag queen is a gay guy who dresses as a girl. Like that's all I know. What? It's not that, So I think part of it is being willing, and I think that's what the breadth of drag, like the variety of drag artists, is it allows a lot, because it makes it actually more accessible for more people because they can see different aspects of it. And I think we need to allow folks a little grace and continue to have the discussions, to continue to battle with one another, if so to speak, but with the understanding that that's how we're all going to get better.
Right.
That's how we're going to come to understand a larger truth as a bigger amount of people. Does that make sense?
It does. And I think you're right in that the only way to change that perception is to have these conversations.
Yeah.
And trans people do the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We do.
We all do.
Yeah.
I think,
like in the general world, a lot of people are never going to come across a drag queen or interact with a drag queen, but they might more likely deal with a trans person, whether they know it or not, right?
exactly.
And so I think trans people are that as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I agree. I think that it's you. I mean, not like you specifically, but I think everybody as you specifically. But I think everybody in their own individual experience, drag, transness, queerness, life, right? We all experience life with different lenses. And we all experience that. We're kind of like mosaics of everybody that we've ever met, right? Like we take pieces of everybody that we've ever met with us.
Maya Angelou's saying.
Exactly. I love that saying. You know, and it's because we take pieces of everyone we've ever met, someone at some point will take a piece of you. And as a trans person, like you get to decide like what piece.
Yep.
Yeah.
You know, you get to choose. I mean, as anybody gets to choose,
and
you know, what piece, but like as an artist, you get to choose. Yeah. As a trans person, like you get to choose, like, will I share this piece of my authentic self with you? Or will I let you continue to live?
And I think at the risk of it not being experienced in the same way that it was for you, you know, I think a lot of great art, it's specific for the artist, but it's universal for the person who's experiencing it. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I think sometimes as an artist, you feel like you have to create something that the most people are going to like. And when you're not specific enough, I think, to your own personal experience with it, it doesn't translate that way. But the more specific you can be about even your own experience, the more relatable it becomes to more people, which I think is a hard thing to do, because oftentimes when we create art, we are thinking about who's going to be looking at it versus expression of my experience and what I want to show.
I could see it being really frustrating too for drag, like specifically, I guess, drag like things and drag kings, because of the misogyny. And it really makes me mad when they're overlooked. Because, you know, working at that bar and then just being involved in the queer community, like I know the issues that they've had with like getting booked at events like Pride. The kings are overlooked. Why is that? Oftentimes they're overlooked. Why is that? I can't think of like any reason,
they're
and
still
I haven't
seen as girls.
Exactly.
They're
it's
still
exactly
seen as women or feminine people,
and that fucking makes me so mad. It's just a reason that it makes me, because like I'm not into drag. I don't. When you guys talk about these drag, I don't know who they are, but like I can appreciate it still. But like those are the kinds of things that make me look at drag and just be like, that's messy, like that's toxic, because how fair is that?
Well, yeah, and again, we are all at different levels of it to some degree. I think a sloppy, messy, lazy dude of a drag king is like quintessential the best, because they're expressing what manhood is and looks like. So
that is a
it's
man.
A critique.
That is a man.
Exactly. It's a critique on what being a man is, you know.
Yeah.
Some drag is beyond that, right? It's not so literal. Like I'm trying to express what being a man is, right? And so in those ways you kind of, you know, because especially I think as AFAB people, I would think that you talked a lot about how it's performance, like being femme is a performance. So to kind of not perform, to like let those things down is what it means to be a man in some ways.
Sometimes.
You know what I mean? Like
I think so.
in a very basic, general kind of way. And so being able to do drag or see drag in that way, I think really sheds light on, again, there's nothing that's so like.
Right. It's not so like.
Exactly.
But
very general statement.
Yeah. I think I do want to touch on like king representation, because something you mentioned is Pride. Historically, like kings were on Sundays. We had a slot. It was for an hour on Sundays the weekend of Pride. But maybe it was 2 years ago. I don't remember. They ended up combining. So instead of it being like the Queen show, or actually it was the hometown drag show and then the Kings on Sunday, they combined it all to be one hometown drag show, part 1, part 2. And I was so excited because we had more Kings this year than we've ever had on a Saturday.
Oh, good.
It was amazing. And we actually, in general, like across both days, had so much diversity, which was amazing. We had Kings things, AFAB queens, we had alt people, we had people of color performing, like we had trans people. Like it was a very diverse cast. What frustrated me, though, was on the Instagram, they were like, oh, here's our lineup of queens. Yeah. And I was like, and kings and things.
Yeah.
Like,
language.
I love you, but please, like, we aren't just drag queens. Like, I love that, like, hometown drag is being celebrated. But that was kind of one piece of it that I was like, please, I'm here too. And you did this really amazing, diverse lineup. Like, I want to be in the Instagram caption too. Yeah. And so it was just, I think it's language like that.
Well, sometimes surprisingly, and I think it's opposite, but oftentimes our language comes after the behavior or the action.
Interesting.
I think sometimes in my experience with my aunt, who's a conservative Christian, I felt her caring for me and understanding me more before she had the words to say it. So I had to become willing to know that what she's saying is not what she means. And it's not even what she believes anymore. She's just not there yet. Like she hasn't taken it that farther. And so I think in some ways that's the way it is too. It's like in order to really be diverse, it has to be to every aspect. Because I also saw pictures of, it said come to gay pride, and it was just a bunch of like white girls drinking.
Oh, I remember
girls
that.
Drinking, you know, and like this is gay pride.
Yeah.
So it's kind of this, right? It's this like perception piece.
Well, and some of it is like, some of it is looking at like intention and all that sort of thing. Because they probably think there's probably still belief that the queens are going to bring the people, not the kings.
Right.
Or we need to appeal to straight white girls.
Right.
To come out to Pride to give us money or those sorts of things. So I think sometimes those things haven't quite caught up
yet.
Sometimes you have to force
even
it,
if the intention is there.
That's true. I think that you're right in the sense that like I think that Pride is being very intentional about like being inclusive. I think that
it can only go so far though.
It can only go so far
of the way that it's set up.
Exactly.
Like you have to be willing to invest at every aspect of an organization from the top to the bottom. You can't just like pick the bottom folk to be where representation is. So
you have to have it on layer.
Top of leadership, on boards, in executive director positions, and like president positions and organizing. You know, you can't just like have us on the front lines.
Yeah.
You have to be everywhere.
I think that like, yes, I agree with you, Bonnie Violet, where like the actions will come before the language. But I also believe that it's just another thing that we have to kind of fight for.
Yeah.
You know, we have to fight for representation. And I think that since there's been a decent amount of pushback like regarding kings in the last few years, I think we're starting to see the result of that.
Agreed.
And now it's like, well, maybe we should be pushing back on the representation that we're seeing in like everything else.
Yeah.
And because I feel like it's just another one of those things where it's like it's not going to be given to you.
Yeah.
You know, like you need to demand it.
And I will say full disclosure on the Pride front. They have been I also, you both know this, but for you at home, you should know this too. But I co-produce a all drag king drag brunch. It's Boise's only all drag king drag brunch. It's called Masks for Mimosas. And we've actually had like a lot of conversations with Pride about it because about collabing on something. I mean, we haven't nailed down anything yet just because our most recent event was kind of late for their lineup, but we have had a lot of talks about like potentially making it a Pride event instead of it just, you know, like having kind of a king specific like extra something. Because I think like you see shows, you know, that are around Pride weekend, right? And it would be cool to like have something that's king focused rather than like specifically like all about the queens.
Yeah. I would encourage you all to keep your agency though. I think a lot of the times things like pride will swallow
Mm.
you, and because they have power, because they have whatever, they begin to tell you what you're going to do or not do. And so I think when one thing I was really intentional, one, I wanted the trans march to be part of Boise Pride, but I didn't want it to be Boise Pride.
Mm-hmm.
Like I wanted it because it's important that it's part of Pride, because people who go to Pride need to understand trans issues and trans people. And so we needed a space for them and we needed to leverage them. But I didn't need them telling me how I was going to do a march, when I was going to do a march. You know what I mean? Like
Mm-hmm.
we do those things in order to be collaborative and partner, but I would just encourage you to keep your like to not get swallowed up into it, I guess, you know, and be really intentional about it, to where it doesn't become Boise Pride's drag king show.
Right.
Does that make sense?
It does.
Because I think it'll allow you to have your own, what's the word? I'm trying to think. Autonomy.
Yeah.
Autonomy, independence, maybe.
Because one thing I often do, and one of the things people always say, like, Idaho's so behind, and we're like, some of our firsts are like happened a long time ago, but I also then I look at what's happened in other cities, and I've seen how trans marches have to be separate from prides and dyke marches and all those sorts of things. And that's because they've learned that in order to really do something for their community, they really have to be involved in leadership at every level.
I see.
You know, and there's a way to kind of merge those sorts of things, but you have to be, I think, really intentional and mindful and deliberate from the get, or else you'll begin to it'll chip away. You know what I mean? And there's a little bit that happens with collaboration and, you know, those sorts of things. But I think really just being able to keep your power within that dynamic and understand that you are bringing them something,
Right.
not the other way around.
That makes sense.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I do.
Even though it is mutual and blah, 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 blah.
But I think that that's a good thing to think about.
Yeah, because you can see over and over how, especially the corporate machine of prides,
right,
can take over a lot of really great things and exploit them.
Right.
Because it's better for the festival.
Right.
It's better for the pocketbook. Better for the visuals even.
Right.
But they're not really putting adequate investment in the people who are doing the stuff, especially if you're a marginalized or group within the group.
I think this coming Pride is going to be really interesting. Mm-hmm. It's so far away now. It's like a little less than a year away, but like, I don't remember, we were talking about it. I don't remember which city it was in Florida, but they've already canceled their 2026 Pride.
Wow.
Because of the DEI shit with DeSantis.
Wow.
So I don't imagine that they're going to be the only one.
I didn't mean to give you advice that you didn't ask.
Oh, no, it's helpful. Thank you.
I was thinking for a second, I was like, they didn't even ask you, girl.
No, I don't. I'm good. Like, it's the thing is, like, I think that input is always helpful.
Mm-hmm.
So don't ever be worried about giving me input.
Yeah. I figured you were open to it or else. And I'm also really passionate about it because I've just, over the years, I've just experienced it in so many different levels.
Yeah.
And maybe I'm projecting some of my own experience onto it, but I don't know. I just feel like it's important.
I mean, it's helpful. You know, I think, like you guys both mentioned, like, it's, my experiences are my own. You know, I only know what I know, and I don't know what I don't know. Exactly. And y'all both know things that I don't. So I feel like for me, it's more about, hey, I've had my own experiences with this. Yeah. You should know this. You should know this too.
Yeah. Well, and I think we've even had experiences where we didn't necessarily go in there that as clear, say, as we do with the March in some of our other projects. And I think it's, we've had the power dynamics, like, used against us or placed us in a place of feeling like desperate, or we have to do it anyway, or we lose our power in that, which is not fun to admit. But I do think there's some times that we've had to go through that, and we have better relations when we can remember that and create the relationship from the beginning with that intention, I think, and deliberateness.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
I think so. Yeah.
I hadn't really thought about things in that way yet till we just talked about it.
Well, that's honestly, I'm big on external processing. I'm a yapper. I love to and I'm like, I do feel that way about that. Cool.
Right. Yeah, totally.
We had interesting experiences, like we were talking about before we were recording, where, and I think that it's more frustrating now to look back on it just because of where we are politically in this country, to think of being kind of used for exposure for, you know, because we are a key word, we're a buzzword right now for fucking trans people. That's like, and I think people that were trying to, you know, be more accessible to that,
be relevant,
to be more relevant, to be more accessible to that community, to get connections within that community. I think that, you know, we've had interactions with several folks like that. And I think that it's not just us, it's everything. Like that happens everywhere, right?
Agreed.
But I think now for me to look back on that makes me more mad because of how under attack we are now. And it's like any disingenuous support just makes me kind of sick right now, because we need everything that we can get. And if people had genuine interest in helping us a year ago, we wouldn't be here today.
And it also calls for us to afford grace in those relationships too, because we're all learning and growing and becoming better. And sometimes our shortcomings take over.
I like to say that we all do the best that we can with the information we have.
Most of the time.
At least I try to do my best with the information I have.
But you know, sometimes we're blind to it, which I guess takes us away from it being our best. But yeah.
I wanted to talk really quickly about, just before we wrap up, I wanted to talk really quickly about, you mentioned earlier kind of this like tokenization. And I kind of wanted to mention that I feel like that happens not just in like drag, but I feel like in my own experience as like a trans person. I feel like sometimes like I hate like describing it this way, but like sometimes somebody will say something and they'll be like, but it's okay because I know this trans person. And I hate that because it's like, you by knowing me, one, you don't know me like that. Like, and it's people, and I mean specifically, like if I'm like close with you and like we have that kind of relationship, whatever, like that's one thing. But if you barely know me and you're like, I hate that. And you're like saying some hateful shit and you're like, but I know a trans person. It's like, no, you don't. You don't know a trans person, because if you knew me, you wouldn't be saying shit like that.
Exactly. Yeah. It's the same as being like, I'm not racist. I have a black friend.
Exactly. It's like,
fuck out of here.
Come back when you know 10 trans people.
Literally. It's like also, again, not my ear falling off. Hello. But also, again,
Jinx lost her nose. You can lose your ear.
You know what? I lose them on stage all the time.
It was her ear too, huh?
Was it?
Soon.
Oh, was it her ear?
It was her ear. Yeah,
That's
I thought
so
it was
funny.
her nose, but because she was a pig, but no, it was her ear. Sorry.
Valid.
Tangent.
No, I saw that. Cora sent that to me on Instagram. I think it was like a reel or something. And I laughed at it. But I forget where I was going. Sorry, my brain.
It was a good place.
Okay. No, I get that too. Sometimes we're like, if they say, well, you're not like them. You're not like the other
I
ones.
hate that.
I get that a lot
I hate that.
on social media. They're like, oh, well, you're not just yelling at us. So, like, I actually would listen to you. I'm like, what? What?
Oh, yeah.
The fuck is that?
Everyone's saying we're the good ones.
Yeah, being a good one, right? It's like, if you say that, you don't know the rest.
And also, again, like...
And if you're seeing me as a good one, I'm probably doing something wrong.
Well, that, and also, like, the fact that it's like, if you believe that, like, trans people can be good, which they can, and they are.
Maybe
like
even better than most? No, I'm just...
I mean, like,
we'll
I
wasn't
going to say it.
We'll keep that between us.
I wasn't going to say it. But, you know, if you believe that there is goodness in trans people, to the point where you're exhibiting by saying, oh, you're like one of the good ones. Like, you would not be spewing the hateful shit that you're spewing. You don't talk that way about good people. You do not talk that way about people that you perceive to be good people. So at the end of the day, like, if you know a trans person, don't spew some transphobic shit and then be like, oh, it's fine because I know a trans person. Because, like,
that trans person would be pissed.
Yeah. Like, I know, like, every single trans person knows, like, that sinking gut feeling that you feel when like someone that you thought was like cool says something. Like it is the worst fucking feeling in the world. It is like this sinking feeling in the pit of your stomach, because it's kind of this like, oh, I'm not safe here. I thought I was safe here and I'm not. And oftentimes like that person usually just needs to be addressed in that behavior, and they're usually really apologetic and they're like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you. Most people are really kind about it. But that pain, like it's not intentional, but it's still there. And it sucks.
And I think it's like we all have that work to do, because you know, like I think you know, oftentimes we're doing this work and we're still white people that are, you know, creating these spaces for all trans people or all non-binary people. We know our limitations and we understand our limitations to the point that you can, but there's still so much more for us to really examine and look at, and how can we really create a more space or be a part of helping more people feel comfortable within our spaces. Because I think a lot of the same things that we're not liking about non-trans people treating us, I'm sure that even as trans people, you know, non-binary people, there's still things we need to learn about being better with just difference in general. I feel like we learn the most from difference. And I think a lot of times that society and culture tells us to connect with sameness and just not talk about the difference, right? And I think there's great power when we can create space and celebrate the difference in the room versus the and not in an exploitive way.
But in a genuine
authentic.
way.
Exactly.
In an authentic way.
Which I think it's harder. It's a lot more difficult. And it like nobody owes us that. So I think that's the other aspect too, is being able to be humble enough for another person to be willing to say, hey, that thing you did, not cute. You know what I mean? I don't know where that came from.
No, I love that. I think that like if the expectation is I want you to be more like accommodating and I want you to be respectful of me and my identity, it makes sense that the expectation is also I will be respectful of you and your identity.
How can I do this better?
Exactly. And I think that that is a conversation that should be had in the trans community, in the queer community. There's a lot of, I mean, we talked about it earlier, right? Misogyny in the queer community. There's a lot of racism in the queer community. Like, let's just say it out loud. Like, there's a lot of issues based on perceived difference. It's not just like us versus like, it's not just like LGBTQ people versus everybody else. Like, we all as human beings, you're right,
it's
have
this
this like,
rest of the rainbow now.
it's us versus everybody else. It's like a Mortal Kombat with cool like trans flag fans or something. I don't know. Finish them. But no, in all seriousness, like we are all individually, as you said, we are all learning to be more respectful of difference and to acknowledge difference and be comfortable in that. So it all kind of loops back, right? People are afraid of what they don't understand.
Exactly.
And so the antidote to that is understanding.
And I think it's important to accept that we will never understand. And that understanding doesn't negate our behavior. So like we don't need to understand somebody to have compassion for them. And I don't want somebody to have to understand me before they have compassion for me. So
like, I was brought up this way. It's like,
because even within the three of us, we can't fully understand the other.
Right.
And we would be probably doing ourselves a disservice to believe that, I guess.
I agree.
So,
I love that.
This was good. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh my gosh, thank you for having me.
Totally. And we did want to acknowledge that you created the jingle for the podcast.
I did.
So I feel like we've kind of dropped the ball and like really
absolutely we have
highlighting and spotlighting that. And so that's one of the reasons why we wanted to get you on here amongst so many others. But we really wanted to take the time to just to say we appreciate you. It's really become a big part of our identity within our podcast, so people know what they're listening to. And so we really appreciate that you did that for us.
That makes me so happy.
Pro bono, you know.
Well, of course.
No, but it's cool. Art is, you know, it's a thing. And we just appreciate it.
Well, I'm glad to do it. And I'm so excited that I got to be on the podcast. Thank you so much for having me and for this great conversation.
Yeah, for sure. I'm sure we'll have you on again sometime. But
know. I'd love to be on. You
Yeah.
just let me know.
All
I'll
right.
talk to my agent.
Yes. Okay.
All
And then
right.
we'll have to talk to your agent. Is that how that works?
I don't actually have an agent.
You're like, you can still talk.
You can just talk to
directly
me. It's okay. I was just being sassy.
Yeah. It's all good. All right. Well, thanks everyone.
Yeah, sounds good. See you next
Bye-bye.
week.
Bye.
So sweet.
Yay. Thank you, y'all.
Thank
That was
you.
great.